In a small village in Nigeria, there lived a young girl named Chinara. She was only 20 years old, but she had already faced many challenges in her life. Her father had passed away when she was very young, leaving her mother, Neka, to care for Chinara and her two older sisters, Aretta and Amaka, all by herself. Neka worked very hard, trying to provide food and shelter for her daughters, but it was never easy. When Chinara was old enough, she left her village to work as a maid in another faraway village. She did this so she could send money back home to help her mother and sisters. Even though her wages were small, Chinara always made sure to send what little she could to her family. For a while, things seemed to be going well. But then, something unexpected happened. Chinara fell in love with a man from the village where she worked. The man was not rich, and his family was very strict. When Chinara became pregnant, the man could not help her, and his family would not take her in. So, with no other choice, Chinara returned to her own village, hoping her family would welcome her back with open arms. But when she arrived home, her mother was very angry. Neka had always dreamed that her three daughters would marry wealthy men and have children only after marriage. Now, Chinara's pregnancy had shattered that dream. The atmosphere in the house became extremely tense, and Chinara felt like a burden to her family. Months passed, and Chinara gave birth to a healthy baby boy. She named him Abidemi, but by this time, Chinara's money had run out. She could barely make ends meet, and her mother and sisters began to treat her harshly. They would often ignore her and refuse to help her care for her baby. The worst treatment came from her eldest sister, Aretta. Aretta had a good job and lived in a different house, but she was the most spiteful of all. She would cook food and refuse to give Chinara even a small bite, knowing that Chinara was hungry and needed to eat to take care of her baby. Many nights, Chinara had to go from house to house, begging for a meal with little Abidemi in her arms. Despite everything, Chinara tried to stay strong, but the pain of her sister's cruelty was too much to bear. She grew angry and bitter, especially towards Aretta. She decided she would never speak to Aretta again, no matter what. 20 years went by, and life continued to be hard for Chinara. She worked odd jobs to take care of her son, who had grown into a fine young man. But one day, something unexpected happened. Aretta became very ill. She used up all her savings trying to get better, but nothing seemed to help. Now, she needed someone to take care of her, someone she could depend on. Her mom had died and her other sister Amaka had migrated to England. She now knew that she needed Chinara. But Chinara had not forgotten how badly Aretta had treated her all those years ago. Chinara still remembered the nights when her stomach growled with hunger, and she had to beg for food to feed her baby. She remembered how Aretta would turn her back on her, even when she had plenty of money. The memories were fresh in her mind, and the hurt had never really gone away. Now, Aretta was sick and weak. She lay in her small bed, too tired to get up, too tired to even eat some days. She knew she needed help, but she was too proud to ask anyone. And even if she could ask, who would help her? Her savings were gone, so she had no more family of her own to turn to. The only person she could think of was Chinara. One day, Aretta's old friend, Amina, came to visit. Amina had heard about Aretta's illness and wanted to see if she could do anything to help. When she arrived, she was shocked to see how thin and frail Aretta had become. "Aretta," Amina said softly, "you need someone to look after you. You can't stay here alone like this." Aretta turned her face away, embarrassed by her condition. "Who would help me, Amina? I have no one," she whispered. "You have Chinara," Amina replied gently. "She is your sister. She will help you if you ask." Aretta shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. "Chinara hates me. I treated her so badly when she needed me the most. I don't think she would ever forgive me, let alone help me." Amina placed a comforting hand on Aretta's shoulder. "It's never too late to say you're sorry. Chinara has a good heart. She might be angry, but she is still your sister. She might surprise you." Later that evening, as Chinara was preparing dinner for herself and Abidemi, she heard a soft knock at the door. When she opened it, she was surprised to see Amina standing there. "Amina, what brings you here?" Chinara asked. "Chinara," Amina began, her voice filled with concern, "I've come to talk to you about Aretta. She's very ill, and she needs someone to care for her. She needs you." Chinara's face hardened at the mention of her sister's name. "Aretta never cared for me when I needed her. Why should I care for her now?" Amina sighed. I understand why you feel this way. But Aretta is your sister, and she is all alone. She regrets what she did, Chinara. She knows she was wrong, but she's too proud to ask for your forgiveness. Chinara stood silent for a moment, thinking about all the pain Aretta had caused her. But as she looked at Amina, she also thought about how she had always taught Abidemi to be kind and to forgive others. How could she teach him those values if she couldn't forgive her own sister? Amina, Chinara said slowly, I don't know if I can forget what Aretta did to me, but I will think about what you've said. I will pray for guidance. Amina smiled gently and placed a hand on Chinara's arm. That's all I ask. You have a kind heart, Chinara. I believe you will do the right thing. After Amina left, Chinara sat quietly, her heart heavy with the decision she had to make. She knew what was right, but the pain of the past was still so strong. Could she really help the sister who had once turned her away? As the sun set and the evening air cooled, Chinara went to check on Abidemi, who was already fast asleep. She watched him for a moment, his peaceful face reminding her of all the nights she had stayed up, worrying about how she would feed him, how she would keep him safe. Those were the hardest times of her life, and Aretta had made them even harder. But as she watched her son sleep, Chinara also remembered how she had survived. She had found strength she didn't know she had, and emerged stronger than ever. And now, perhaps, it was time to show that strength again. But Chinara still wasn't sure what she would do. She needed more time to think. The next morning, Chinara woke up early, her mind still filled with thoughts about Aretta. As she prepared breakfast, she noticed how quiet the house was. Abidemi had already left for his daily work, leaving Chinara alone with her thoughts. The silence gave her time to reflect on everything Amina had said the night before. After a long while, she decided to visit Aretta. She needed to see her sister, to look into her eyes and decide what to do next. With a deep breath, Chinara gathered some food and water in a small basket and made her way to Aretta's house. When Chinara arrived, she found Aretta lying in bed, looking even weaker than she had imagined. Aretta's eyes were closed, and her breathing was shallow. Chinara's heart ached at the sight of her sister in such a state. Quietly, she sat down beside the bed and placed the basket on the floor. Aretta opened her eyes slowly, and when she saw Chinara, she was shocked. Tears immediately welled up in her eyes. Chinara, Aretta whispered, her voice trembling, why are you here? Chinara took a deep breath. I came because you are my sister, Aretta. I can't forget what happened in the past, but I also can't leave you like this. You need help, and I'm here to give it. Aretta's tears began to fall, and she covered her face with her hands. I'm so sorry, Chinara. I was cruel to you when you needed me the most. I was wrong. I don't deserve your kindness. Chinara reached out and gently pulled Aretta's hands away from her face. You were wrong, Aretta. But holding on to anger for so many years has only hurt me more. We are family, and family is supposed to stand by each other, even when it's hard. I'm here to help you because that's what family should do. Aretta cried harder, but this time, there was relief in her tears. Thank you, Chinara. I don't know how to make up for what I did, but I will try. I will try to be a better sister. For the next few weeks, Chinara visited Aretta every day. She cooked for her, cleaned her house, and made sure she took her medicine. As Aretta's health slowly began to improve, the two sisters spent more time talking. They spoke about their childhood, their struggles, and the mistakes they had both made. Through these conversations, they began to rebuild their bond, finding a new sense of closeness that they had never shared before. As time passed, Aretta grew stronger, and she became more independent again. She was grateful for Chinara's help and made sure to show her appreciation every day. Chinara, in turn, felt a sense of peace that she had not known in years. By forgiving her sister, she had also freed herself from the weight of bitterness and anger. One evening, as they sat outside watching the sun set, Aretta turned to Chinara and said, I'm so thankful that you forgave me, Chinara. You taught me that family is the most important thing we have. I will never take that for granted again. Chinara smiled and nodded. I've learned something too, Aretta. Forgiveness is powerful. It not only heals the one who is forgiven, but also the one who forgives. We can't change the past, but we can decide how we move forward. And I'm glad we're moving forward together as a family. From that day on, the bond between Chinara and Aretta continued to grow. They supported each other through life's ups and downs, knowing that their family was stronger because of the forgiveness and love they had shared. They had learned that even in the hardest times, family is worth fighting for. So, from this story we have learned that forgiveness is a powerful gift that can heal deep wounds and bring families closer together. Holding on to anger only creates more pain, but letting go and choosing to forgive can lead to peace, understanding, and the strengthening of family bonds. So, do you think that Chinara made the right choice in forgiving her sister and letting go the past? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section.